Hey everyone, Joey here, and today we're going to be doing a full setup guide for Flycast Standalone, the Sega Dreamcast, Naomi, Naomi 2, and Atomiswave emulator on Android. Now, for most people, it is going to be easier to just use RetroArch's Flycast core to play these games. But there's a lot of you out there that like using the standalone experience, and so this guide is for you. I didn't do any in-depth testing between RetroArch and Standalone. Both did seem to perform pretty much the same though, so keep that in mind. For today, I'm going to be using my AYN Odin 3 for this guide, which is a Snapdragon 8 Elite device. But Flycast has great performance with low-power chips all the way up to high-power chips, so you really should be good with most any Android device. All of today's guide will be done on Android, no PC needed for anything. So, the very first thing that you're going to need before we do anything is actual games. Unfortunately, I can't help you with any part of this section for a lot of different reasons, but you will need games, of course, legally backed up games. I would go ahead and create a ROMs folder somewhere on your device or your SD card if you don't already have one. Then create a folder called Dreamcast and you throw all of your Dreamcast games inside of there. Then if you have Naomi games, create a folder called Naomi and throw all those games in there. For Naomi 2, create a folder called Naomi 2, put all your games inside of there. And then Atomiswave, again, create a folder called Atomiswave and put all of your games inside of there. That way everything is nice and organized and easy. You're also going to need something called BIOS files. Now, BIOS files are system files that are required to run the games from these systems. You can't play anything without them. My site has the file names of what you actually need, and I'll be showing you how to use them inside of the emulator. To store them, just create a folder called BIOS in the ROMs folder, then put the BIOS files inside. Nice and easy. For finding them, like the games, it's unfortunately not something I can help with, but you should be legally backing them up from your Sega Dreamcast and so on. Let's go ahead and start by downloading Flycast, and you have two options. The easiest is right off of the Google Play Store, which is what I'm going to do, or you can grab the download off of their GitHub. There is no right or wrong answer. You can use Obtainium to keep the GitHub version up to date, or you can just use the Google Play Store. It's up to you. Go ahead and open the app, and the first thing we need to do is tell Flycast where all of our games are. So go ahead and click Add Game Folder, head to your ROMs folder or wherever your Dreamcast games are. Mine are in the Dreamcast folder from earlier, and then select Use this folder. We're only going to do Dreamcast right now, we'll do the rest later. It should now find them, load them up, and you should see them in the list here. It will take a minute or two for all the artwork to load up if you did it properly. Let's head to the settings, top right. Go ahead and click Add right where content location is. And if you have Naomi ROMs, go ahead and select the folder that you have those in. Then repeat Naomi 2 and Atomiswave for any ROMs that you have. So you should have maybe 4 different folders if you're doing it like me and you have all the games. If you click Done, top left, you should see your ROMs start to populate and update. Head back to Settings. Scroll all the way down to Custom Paths, and next to BIOS folders, click Add and navigate to your ROMs folder, BIOS folder, where your BIOS files are, and select Use this folder, and allow. Alright, so now at this point we have our games and we have our BIOS files set up. Let's take a look at some other settings. There is automatic load and save states here if you want it. Basically, you can load into a save state automatically on boot, or save automatically when exiting a game. This is your choice. For Enable Retro Achievements, do you have a Retro Achievements login? If so, you can log in here. Just enter your username and password and then log in. Scroll all the way up and let's go to Controls. Push a button on your device if you haven't already and you should see your controller show up. Mine is called Xbox Wireless Controller. I'm in Xbox mode on my Odin 3 for reference. Now that we know which device is our controller, set the ports of the other ones, if you have them, to none. Make sure that your controller is the only one with port set to A. Go ahead and click Map next to your device. If you have an Xbox controller, it should be automatically mapped already, but you can see on screen what's mapped for mine. We have the D-pad directions for up, down, left, and right. Left thumbstick is set to up, down, left, and right. Right thumbstick is pretty much the same thing. Buttons are set up, and the C button on a Dreamcast controller is set to R1, and Z is set to L1. Left and right triggers are set, and then we have start and select. Select is what you use to bring up the Flycast menu, so the actual emulator in-game. You can also map fast forward or exit or any other option if you want to. For example, maybe L3 plus R2 for fast forward. Combo hotkeys do work. Sequential just means that you have to push those keys in that order as it shows on screen. You can turn that off if you're finding they're a little bit hard to push. If your controls aren't mapped like mine, just click Map next to each control option and push the button on your controller. Here is a picture of an Xbox controller and what you should have mapped for Dreamcast. At the top right, if we swap to arcade controls, we can map these two for the arcade systems. Once again, it is all set up to my controller, and it is all the same as Dreamcast for the most part. Just double check the button section to map your controller if you need to. One thing you should map for arcade controls is coin, because you're going to have to insert a coin for a lot of arcade games. I set this to L3, I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what I use. Here is a picture of an Xbox controller and what you should have mapped for arcade. Click Done at the top when done. You can also adjust the dead zone and saturation of the sticks by clicking Settings next to your controller if you need to. Scroll all the way down and turn on Per Game VMU A1 so that we can get per game saves. It's helpful, trust me. Let's head over to Video next. We can do per game settings, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. So let's take a look at what settings we want to make across the board that'll apply to all games. OpenGL or Vulkan is a complicated choice. You can leave it as OpenGL, but Vulkan might be better performance in some situations. So this is something you're going to have to test on a device-to-device basis. For transparent sorting, the default choice is fine. You may need to change this on a per game basis if you notice any graphical glitches though. Scroll down to rendering options, and are you using a capable device? If so, you can upscale from native to your display resolution. I'm going with 3x for my Odin 3's 1080p screen, because I know it can handle it. Integer scaling is a good option if you want to scale the screen without mixing up any pixels. I actually like this option quite a bit, so I'm going to set it. It will make the game not use up the full screen though in many situations, especially if you're not using a 4x3 screen. If you plan to use HD textures, or even if you don't, this doesn't hurt. Let's turn on Load Custom Textures and Preload Custom Textures. For aspect ratio, we can use widescreen hacks and things here. I would leave this for a per game basis though, and not turn this on for all games. Last setting is all the way at the bottom, but you can turn on the Show FPS Counter, at least for a bit, to see how games are running. Let's head to Network for the coolest part. Do you want to play online with people? If so, it's very easy. Enable Use DCNet. That's it. For the games that have supported online, you can just boot up the game like Choo Choo Rocket, head to Network, and you can see others playing whenever they're playing. The Flycast Discord has a channel where you can see what game rooms people are in and what people are playing and all of that sort of thing. So if that sounds cool to you, you probably want to do that. Click Done, top left when done, and now let's click a game to start it. You're going to see on-screen touch controls. They go away after a few seconds of not touching the screen. You're also going to see a frame rate counter, bottom left. Now, if the on-screen controls really bother you, just head to Settings, Controls, Settings next to Virtual Gamepad, and turn transparency up to 100%. Now you won't see them. You might notice that my screen looks small. It's because we turned on integer scaling earlier. Let me turn that off so you can see the difference. Now we're using the entire screen, but the pixels won't be perfect. So it is your call on what you want to do. At this point, you can play the game and have fun. But let's talk about the in-game menu by pushing Select. You can use Eject Disk and Insert Disk to change disks if you need to for any games that have that. Cheats, we're going to talk about in a second. Save State is a way to manually save state if you didn't map it to a control earlier. And Achievements has all of your retro achievements information if you signed into that. Head to Settings, and right at the top, you can select Make Game Config. And now, any changes that you make will only apply to this specific game. This is per game settings, and it's handy to fix some games that might have some problems, or they need specific setting solutions to fix. Or you can enable those widescreen cheats that we talked about earlier for some games if you want to. Let's go ahead and talk about cheats now. RetroArch actually has a database of cheats that you can find on their GitHub, and they'll work here, so it's easy to use. This is all linked in the description. Go ahead and click Code, then download zip. Head to your file manager, and with your default Files app, go inside, then into the CHT folder, find the Sega Dreamcast folder, then push and hold on that folder, and choose Extract To, and then Extract. When that's done extracting, you should now see that folder in your downloads. Inside of it has all of the cheats that you need, and so we can move this folder anywhere that you want, or you can leave it here. It's up to you. But if we head back to Flycast, and we open up a game, and then choose Cheats, then we click Load, head to that Sega Dreamcast cheats folder, find the game you want, and you can load it. You should now see all of the cheats here that you can use for this game, and you can enable or disable as you want. Let's end off with HD texture packs. There is a subreddit dedicated to HD texture packs for Flycast, linked in the description. Let's do Sonic Adventure. It's the first one I found. Click the texture pack link, then the download button on the right. Head inside of your file manager and create a folder called Textures. This is going to house all of your HD textures, so place it now somewhere that you want. An SD card would be the best place for this. Then, like cheats, head inside of that compressed folder that we just downloaded for Sonic Adventure, push and hold, extract to, navigate to where your textures folder is, and extract. This could take about 30 minutes or so. It did take me a long time. There's a lot of files here. You should see an MK-51000 folder when that's done in the textures folder. That MK51000 is the game ID. Now, if you plan on using other HD texture packs, you want to put them all inside of that textures folder, the same way that we just did. Once again, MK51000 is the game's ID. Other games will have a different ID, and they all go directly into that textures folder. Head back to Flycast, and then Settings, scroll down to Custom Paths, and now choose Add next to Texture Pack Folders. Go to wherever your textures folder is, and now select Use this folder to use it. Let's start up Sonic Adventure to see what the difference is. You should see a preloading custom textures and progress bar if you did it correctly. We can see just from the menu and everything that all is looking better already, and we're using the HD texture pack. If you continue playing, it all starts to make sense. So we are all set to play. Now, just to do some double checking here, we have a Naomi game, and if we open it, it looks like it's playing just fine and I have no issues. Doing the same test with the Naomi 2 game, also no issues, and all is set. Lastly, we have Atomiswave, and like the rest, we are all set up and ready to go. Everything is working, all 4 systems. Now, if you're curious where all of the data is and folders, this is going to be dependent on your device, as some devices can't access Android's data storage without root. But AYN and Retroid devices can. You can go into your file manager, Android, Data, com.flycast.emulator, Files, Data, and you'll be able to find all of your saves and things in here, and they're separated into the Game ID, VMU Save A1 bin files. That should be just about it for today. We went over everything and anything that I could personally think of, and you should be able to do anything that you want in Flycast now using today's guide and the different timestamps. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro gaming. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.